Two, artist in recovery from the diary of a griever named John Weaver. Morning, Darryl. 4:57 in the morning, West Coast time. It's the 1st of June, 2024. Rosemond is calling. How you doing? Yeah, I caught the vid and this morning concerning about the jurors. And believe me, I was a while ago, I think yesterday, catching those other videos that the other independents were picking up on. Not to mention the corporates, but the psychos out there. Went completely freaking mind, nuts. And I'd seen some of the videos. Yeah, I don't think we've got enough facilities to put these nut jobs away. I think of it as, to a point, they are entitled to their opinions and freedom of speech, and even if it is going off the rails. What they were trying to do is scare living crap out of people left and right. And all they were making themselves is targets. The American system, court of justice, we have due process for those who love America, those who claim that they love America, those who claim that they love the Constitution, yelling and screaming with a red cap on it, and that's supposed to follow the laws of the land. But they don't know the laws of the land. They just think they know the laws of the land. They say they know the Constitution, but they don't know the Constitution because they never bothered to study it, or let alone pick up a book and read about the damn thing in the first place, or even ask questions, let alone paid attention in school if they actually went to school for it. And if they did, if maybe a few of them were educated enough to get an A degree or higher than that and still become a maggot, I fail to see the point of them going insane. If they said that it was rigged election, it means there had to be collusion. There had to be people in cahoots with each other to make sure that this didn't happen. That's why they're going off for Biden, because they don't know what else to think about. Their way of life is at risk. Their way of sanity is at risk. And unfortunately, we still have to give them the benefit of a doubt a little bit. Or do we? I struggle every time I hear this stuff, that there's always literature and media for me to fall back on to back up a point, back up a case. My channels, when I do when I talk about things, I reach back of the things I learned, things I have experienced, and the things I was exposed to. Try to see if there was anything that I could use as an example to demonstrate something. And when it comes down for one party going after each other, and the other guy screaming loudly their head off like this point, I'm always reminded of that '95 movie, American President, Michael Douglas, Annette Bening, Martin Sheen, Richard Dreyfuss. I'm always reminded of that movie because it's also telling me how the system works. When I watch the West Wing series, every once in a while, when I go back through it all over again, I'm amazed at the political process we go through. Granted, it may be put into a fictional format, but speechwriter, I think Dee Dee Myers, um, was giving her expertise on how the White House is run, but also the process of a bill getting through. You have to know your political science. You have to know history a little bit. There's a book out there, and I don't think anybody else on the internet ever bothered to read because I don't think they ever bothered to wanted to read a damn thing. They just wanted to argue like crazy. They think they're right, they're going to yell and scream, and therefore they're going to yell and scream louder. They keep reminding me of the 2001 Space Odyssey opening, where you have two ape-like creatures, or yeah, one, two, yelling over a damn puddle of water. These guys can't move around and find the other puddles of water. No, they have to argue about this one over here. Yell and scream, yell and scream, yell and scream, yell and scream. Whoever screams the loudest probably gets the puddle, right? So one of them got pissed off enough to take a stick and then bap. No, actually not a bottle. John Bowen of someone creature that they killed, and then big belligerents yelling and screaming, and the other guy just gets sick and tired of it and just goes whap upside the head. We can't do that. As much as we'd love to do that, we have a debate format. But we also have to understand we have to support each other's freedom of speech to do so. But it only goes to a 4 point. And it's up to the Supreme Court of the United States to make the rulings whether or not we've actually got limitations or not on our rights. And we hate it when it happens. We hate it when it happens because we think we're right and the other guy's wrong. And when we see how much we can go to a point, it scares us. In the case of the Trump and the Trumpettes, or shall I call them the maggots, they can be bellicose all they want. But if they're going to be doing any physical altercations, if they're going to be storming the castle again of the Capitol with weapons, it's against laws, it's against rules, regulations, it's against what our country is supposed to be. No, but it would claim that we're revolutionaries, we're going against, because we're supporting the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Did they actually read the damn thing? Did they actually understand the history? Did they? So an armed rebellion going to the Capitol to stop a vote that was already done fairly. But it's rigged. Well, how do you know it's rigged? We know. No, you don't. Yes, we do. How do you know? How do you know it's rigged? We know it's rigged. No, it ain't. You're going to be telling me that you have taken a poll. You've gone to every damn state. Yes, we have. No, you haven't. Yes, we have. Don't argue with me. And there goes the arguments right there. Show me the proof. If this is the court of the United States right here, where's the proof? I got proof. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. I'm going to yell and scream my face until I'm going red, blue in the face. Ah! Then I'm going to go in the face and I'm going to keep yelling and screaming at you saying, where's your proof? Again, back to the scene of the American president. America is advanced citizenship. You got to really want it bad. You got to be supporting the freedom to do this back and forth. Because there's other countries out there, other right-wing authoritative countries out there who don't want this. They want to control everything, including your choice, your voice, your way of life, because they say so. Hungary and Italy. Italy is a right-wing country. The people had voted in a right-wing government and style of thinking. They chose. Hungary did the same thing. They can't get rid of this guy, Orbán. And Trump loves these guys because they're bully boys, and he loves a bully boy. Said before, and I don't think anybody else has figured the damn thing out. They haven't said it enough. The independents haven't even said this enough. Trump is a bully boy. Trump is a mobster. We're dealing with mobster mentality. We keep forgetting history and it keeps repeating itself again and again and again. But we don't care. Because we think we're right and the other guy's wrong, and therefore we're going to be going in your face and yelling and screaming. So, Darryl, how about if I'm mobster number one and you're just a guy trying to protect America and democracy? I'm going into your face at this point over here. I'm going to move this over here. And I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to go, you're going to listen to me because I can yell, screaming and yelling louder. And I can go crazy at this point over here. And it will scare you because I intend to scare the living crap out of you. And I'm going to go, Meanwhile, you're trying to tell me that, show me the money, show me the proof, show me something, I want the proof. You will give it to me, yes? And me being a belligerent, probably at this point, is going to go, ah! And knowing you, you'll probably say, talk to the hand. We lost that capability, dude. We lost that capability. For the most part, New York, and you're correct. It was a random pick. And out here in California, out here in Los Angeles County, when I was living in the county, and may have been the worst county for a lot of people, but for me it was home. And we did the random. Jury picking is random. They had a system out here. Let me tell you about that one there. For the LA County system, when I was in it, they would pick people all over, and they would have names, addresses, phone numbers who are registered to vote. So I had to pick them out, registration to vote. And they would group them up in different sections. If your group got called in, first you get the letter that you're being summoned to jury. But you would have 1 week to keep calling in to see if your group is going to be picked up. You call in, you listen. This is the automated recording system here. If your group number is called, you are to report on that day and date in the paperwork. Sometimes they'll have to tell you over the phone. And you will report over to jury duty. Here is the number right now. Remember, you have to call in and verify and report to jury duty. Give me a break on that one. Give me a second here. I gotta check my stove real fast. Safety tip. I always have to make sure that my stove is turned off so I don't cause any kind of hazards that might happen around here. Back to the civics lesson, shall we? Okay. We have two different parties yelling and screaming at each other. One wants the proof, and the other one just wants to yell and scream because they think they're right and they think they got all the information necessary. But that's what we've been dealing with last couple of election cycles. Not to mention we have the other politicians yelling and screaming at the public, thinking they know better. They're going to support the Trump. That almost sounded like a damn commercial. We are Trump. Anyway. With the jury system in place, you get the message and you go over to the jury where the court is at. Now, at times, there had been different jurisdictions that would allowed 3 to 5 days of serving in the jury, or in the jury pool, till you get selected as a jurist. But there's also another place, a long time ago, that would just do the 1 day. I loved the 1 day. because the 3 to 5 day, it depends on which particular venue it is. One particular venue in the San Fernando Valley at one time was one day. You go over to the Van Nuys Courthouse, and you get to hang around for about a day. If you didn't get selected for jury assignment, you done your duty for that year, or until next time they call you up. But in Beverly Hills, it's 3 to 5 days, and I was part of that one. There's also the federal court. Federal? Yeah, and they do the same thing too, about 3 to 5 days. And you would have to go in there and explain to the jury foreman, not to mention the judge, what's your excuse. Before you get to the judge part, you had to talk to the people in the jury and who's in charge of the jury room, and you would have to go over things with them. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. If I was working for a company at the time and it didn't allow time off for jury duty, and believe me, there were times like that happening, I wouldn't get paid by the company for taking time off away from them, for jeopardizing things. So say, okay, fine, or any other thing that they had listed, and therefore I was actually able to get it the hell out of there. But while I got selected into the county system of being a jury pool, I was actually able to switch venues from Beverly Hills, which was a desert of sorts, midst of buildings and cars and stuff like that. It's a desert in there. You go over to Van Nuys, and it wasn't. A, because they had transportation, and B, they had food places. In Beverly Hills, you had to have your own transportation around there. My brother dropped me off over there, and I couldn't get back home. He had to go to work, and I got off of jury duty by switching my venue over to Van Nuys, and then I had to find the bus to get me home. So I had to work my way on that one. It wasn't fun. But around Van Nuys, they had food places. They had little hot dog shops and little hamburger joints like that. So for a lunch break, I could find a way to get home and diddle bop. But when you're on a jury, you got a sacred duty, sacred oath to hear the evidence without having prejudice. Problem is, you still bring your own prejudice. But you can't lie about it either. You have to be honest with it. Do you support the guy? Do you know the guy? Are you anywhere familiar with this guy? Have you ever served on a jury before? Have you ever been an attorney before? Have you ever been a law enforcement officer before? Do you know anybody in law enforcement? Do you have any relatives in law enforcement? You answer it wrong and you're screwed. You don't get to be on the jury. Damn. Now, let's say I had an uncle, was a special prosecutor for the state of California. Does that count? You're out of here, you bum. Yay! By being on a jury, it's sacred enough. Because now you got the person's life in your hands. From a misdemeanor all the way up to a major felony. Some people look at it as a very sacred duty, and other people are like, "Can I go home now?" There was a film out there back in the 50s or 60s, I think, called 12 Angry Men. They redid it for cable back in the 90s or 2000s for HBO on that one. Heavy movie. Very heavy movie. All star kists in those days. But but the movie was about 12 guys finding out if this one guy was innocent or not. And they had to replay the trial, and they had to replay every piece of evidence until they found that there was a reasonable doubt. In Trump's case, this was financial fraud. And it had to be up to the prosecutor to put out the evidence. Now, I've heard it. There was political crap going on. There was a lot of maneuvering. Maybe the judge was guilty. Maybe he's tainted. Maybe there's something wrong with him. Yeah, I heard it too. I heard it from the independents all the way up to the majors, and they're still talking about the damn crap, and it still sucks. They're talking about it. And they're arguing about it, and they're telling people what's what, and here comes other people saying, "No, you gotta listen to us. They're all rigged. They don't know what's going on." Well, the jury's rigged. What's really weird is when you get a grand jury. Grand jury has their own special rules and regulations on this one. How they're supposed to act, how they're supposed to be. And they will determine guilt or innocence in there. And then it's up to everybody else to prove the case in court. Once the guy's been indicted by the grand jury, defense is going to have a hell of a time. And I heard some of the interviews. I was listening to some of the clips of the interviews there concerning about the defense attorney. Trump got screwed. He got hammered. But they're not going to get paid. They're not going to get paid by this guy. Trump has a way of not paying his bills. He has a way of screwing over his lawyers one way or another. And he did. When you have a defense attorney saying that they don't have to provide defense or witnesses, only the prosecution has, this is America, I like to wake this guy up and say, have you ever studied law before? When you're in a court, you have both sides presenting the case to the judge and to 12 people. Some of the cases, only one judge will be a judge, jury, and executioner of sorts, or just a judge and jury. And the 12 people have to listen to what's being presented to them. They have instructions by the judge on how to proceed. And usually before the actual trial happens, they have to go through motions to let you know what the boundaries are, what the rules are, what you can say, what you can't say, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do. And the problem is, see, some people keep thinking, well, the judge is rigged, the judge is bought. Maybe. You'd have to prove that. No, I don't. I can just say it. This is proved. My voice is proof enough. No, you don't. Because in a court of law, screw the court of law. This is law, by law. And that's how the thinking is. That's how the thinking is, Darryl. And for those listening, anyway. Mobsters did the same thing. Have you ever looked at the court transcripts? I hadn't. But I've heard the stories coming out. Growing up, I heard them. And they kept saying that the whole thing was rigged. Trump grew in an environment where mob bosses ruled the areas, the 5 boroughs, and more than that. The mobs were in control, but law and order had to prevail. It was a constant fight with them. Much as I was exposed to information being leaked out from the media and other places, I guess. I'd never been to New York. I'd never been to New York and heard the stories or actually been exposed, thank God. My brother had. And he said, trust me, you don't want to go over there. Nope, he didn't. But he went there one time, and not by choice either. Let me tell you a story, Darryl. My brother was still trying to get into the truck driving, long haul. He went through a couple of companies already, and both were looking for people to work for them. Problem is, there were also fronts for the mob. I don't know which families, and I'm not going to go into it because he didn't tell me all that information. Thank God. Information buried with him. Ashes. Ashes. But anyway, he got screwed over by one company up in your area. And he had enough money to get himself out to a point, but and I transferred the money over to him to get him out of there. And you can only get out by bus. So the bus came from New England area all the way down to New York, New York City. My brother was telling me, luckily for him, that he met a friend of his. God rest his soul and God bless him. He was a New York transit cop, transit authority, based out of the World Trade Centers at the time. So before they collapsed, my brother had the good graces of being treated as a guest to New York City by seeing the nickel tour. And before he had that happen, my brother actually found a deli suggested by a native. And my brother went for corned beef. My brother met Gotti. Certain tables you don't go at because that's their territory. And one of the territories was having a back to the wall and you can see out. So whoever's going to be coming after you, you have a chance to defend yourself. And my brother, being a smart ass sometimes, but also being an asshole, he already on defensive at this point, but he got his food, and the Gotti wanted to pay for it. My brother was arguing with him, saying, "No, no, thank you very much, but I'm not." Long story short on this one, he didn't owe anything to him. Got out of there alive, and he got out of there with corned beef on rye. I miss a good corned beef on rye, I tell you. I can't even find it anymore out here. It just drives me nuts. But anyway, he was telling me some of the stories after he got settled back in California. He made it out of there alive. And he was telling me all sorts of stuff that was happening out there. I'm grateful that he got out of there alive. And when we also heard about Gotti being in jail, my brother was breathing a sigh of relief. Dave was telling me that Trump was like a mobster. I think we had that conversation once. He didn't trust Trump. He didn't like him. He had bad feelings about him. As if I remember part of the conversation, at least I hope I did, but I wouldn't trust Trump either. And after he started doing his maggot crap left and right, what was we had the 2016 elections and the 2016. My brother was alive. We both voted for somebody else other than Trump. And he was pissed off that we actually had Trump in office. My brother died in 2018. Didn't live to see the next election cycle. And he was still pissed off at Trump. Trump wasn't good for the country. Trump was never good for the country. Anyway, I think I'll do a part 2 on this one.